Good morning. Fine. Can I start? We start with some bit of clarifications. I don't call it a Q&A session, but maybe some concerns, some queries people had. Maybe 5 different people I am trying to cover today. Somebody is writing. That actually reminds me of reading letters in All India Radio. जब लिखा करते थे inland और कार्ड पर लिखा करते थे. In some book, this person had read this statement and needs a clarification, the meaning of that statement. I'm also reading the name of the book. The book is titled India Unbound. In that book, the writer says, one day M.N. Srinivas predicted that, I am repeating, one day M.N. Srinivas predicted that caste will become symbolic of ethnicity rather than hierarchy. This is the word. She needs an explanation about. Symbolic of ethnicity rather than hierarchy. One day M.N. Srinivas predicted that caste will become symbolic of ethnicity rather than hierarchy. Simply put, caste will become synonymous to Indian ethnic group, as simple as it is. Or caste would become synonymous with rather Hinduism. So hierarchical arrangement, etc., they had been there from the time when we were studying caste, from the time when it must have originated. But more than looking at it as a hierarchy at a global level, if any society is having a characteristic something like a caste, immediately people would recognize that it is either Hindu or Indian society. That is the meaning of it. Nothing so complicated. It's only that when you are using slightly verbose terms, there is something else. A friend here is writing. I have mentioned one sentence, I think in yesterday's class, about Taylor. Taylor brought out a rational man from the primitive man, whatever. So the meaning he wanted, what is bringing out rational man out of primitive man? When you are comparing primitive with rational, one question we'll have to look at is, can we consider the primitive man a rational man? Forget about what we have written in the class notes, etc. Can we call the primitive man a rational man? If yes, why? If no, why? And we feel kaadu. I don't want your feel. Sometimes you have a feel. You like something, you don't like something. But reason has to be there to substantiate your, you're not there yesterday. Can we call the primitive man a rational man? If at all you will have to answer this question, it means that you should know what is the meaning of a rational man. Whether that characteristic is possessed by the so-called primitive man. What's the basic meaning, rational man meaning? You reason out, you question, you think, you articulate things. So, can we extend this characteristic of the so-called rationality, rational man, to the so-called primitive in the sense of Taylor? Meaning that we are talking about somebody like Savage or a barbaric fellow, can we call them rational? Why do we call them rational, if at all we do, ma'am? If at all, because I see that you agree that he is a rational man. If at all we call primitive man a rational man, what could be the basis?
He was a rational man for his time, when there was nothing, no technology developed. So the resources were available and his way of living, he was a rational man for that time.
Okay, maybe rationality is a graded one. What is rational and how, to what extent you are rational may be variable according to the time. That's an interesting thing. Anything else you want to say? Sir? Tools made by him are an indication that he is a thinking man. He is trying to see what exactly he needs. So right from the beginning, maybe he had questions. Right from the beginning, he had questions. He was looking for answers. And he was inquisitive of things, and he was trying to explore the things around him. It is actually from this perspective. See, when I was making you write that Tyler was making a rational man out of a primitive man, what I meant was Tyler was thinking through the rethinking process that primitive man was actually questioning, arguing about things like maybe sleep, dreams, etc. And he was trying to question why certain things are happening in nature. See, answers may not be technically, scientifically right. But as long as questions are there, as long as you are questioning, you remain a rational fellow, I hope. And तो काफ़ी लंबा है. Sir, about Chalcolithic and Mesolithic ages, Chalcolithic onwards, we recommend the students to stick majorly to India rather than looking for global sites, etc. Similarly, so three things the person is writing about. Basically, to what extent you will have to study. For Mesolithic, whatever tool typologies and sites, etc., you have done in the class. Em master? ఇంత నేను ఇంకా పాఠమే మొదలెట్టలేదు కదా, మీరు అప్పుడే ఆవలిస్తే అలాగా. For Mesolithic, I have given one printed write-up in maybe AN02 somewhere, European Mesolithic. That is actually an offbit kind of a thing, just in case, God forbid, something is asked from outside India, that would give a clue. For that matter, I have given. So, for Chalcolithic, you will stick to India alone. For Mesolithic, you are reading about Europe, general trends in Mesolithic tool typologies, and Indian sites. When it comes to Neolithic, there is one document that is pending from me, that is Eastern Neolithic. But see, the question is whether Neolithic culture has to be exclusively studied from Indian perspective. So there are two things here. Regarding Neolithic culture, there are certain general characteristics. We call it a revolution based on the child's idea. I remember to have shown you one animation based IAV where we were speaking of what made the Neolithic time a revolutionary time, food production wise, specialization, etc., etc. That gives you the general characteristics of Neolithic. So two things. In Neolithic, you will have to learn the general characteristics that make Neolithic age a revolutionary age. Secondly, you will be studying mostly the Indian sites alone. You are not trying to explore the rest. So even if a question is asked in the paper 1, he would mostly ask from the perspective of why a Neolithic is a revolutionary age. And sometimes, you know, it happens, India related questions are asked in the paper 1 also. So you need not have to worry. You need not have to have a set notion that if at all some question is asked in paper 1, it is exclusively from the world and not from India. Don't carry such kind of an idea. There is a possibility that India based question will also be asked in paper 1. So for Neolithic, general characteristics and revolution of Neolithic. Secondly, the Neolithic evidences of India, write up I'll have to still provide to you. And I'm reading out certain things in order to understand what the question is. आप भी सुनिए गौर से, and then you try to tell me what the question is. Then we'll talk about the answer. According to Manu, in the doctrine of karma, people who think ill of others in their next birth will be born as Sudra. यहाँ तक तो ठीक है? Can we say that is the reason why the Sudras are ill-treated or not given equal opportunities as the above Varnas in the Varna system? Question तो उल्टा हो गया actually. Sometimes question, there are errors in the question. I read out. In fact, it ran into about 200 words. Question ran into 200 words, but I am trying to figure out where the question is. I really love the way questions are presented in a complicated way. आपको ढूंढना पड़ता है question किधर है, फिर बाद में पता चलेगा कि आंसर लिखना है. According to Manu, doctrine of karma. According to Manu, in the doctrine of karma, people who think ill of others in their next janma will be born as Sudras. Fine. Now the question is, why is he born in Sudra? Because something went wrong. Meaning, Sudra's inferior status was already existing, because of which, if you have done anything wrong, you are rooted to Sudra. It is not the other way around. The questioner is saying that because you have done something wrong in the previous janma, is it because of that the Sudras are ill-treated? No, those two are unconnected things. Sudras being ill-treated, Sudras having an inferior status, that was already existing based on some kind of mythology, some kind of belief system, whatever, some kind of established social structure. And now when you are taking a Punarjanma, when you are going down the ladder of caste hierarchy or Varna hierarchy, you happen to have born in Shudra because of certain karmas you have done. It is not that your karmas are bad and hence you are being ill-treated. No, not that way. The system is, I hope you are following what I am saying. There is something, I don't remember who had sent this question. If that person is there, you can try clarifying to us. Now I am continuing with the question. The Sudras are ill-treated by all the above Varnas and not allowed to enter temples as of upper Varnas, and no Upanayana is also performed as they cannot be twice born. And they believed that Sudras are created from the feet of Brahma and so on. And as now Sudras are being ill-treated by the above Varnas, will the same apply to the above Varnas according to the doctrine of Manu? I didn't understand this one. Question में कुछ clarity है नहीं. Maybe the questioner I request to think over. If at all the person is here, you can meet me after the class. Give me a proper question. अच्छा और कुछ है यहाँ पर? Somebody else. Comment on the position of Neanderthal in the human evolutionary line. ये एक क्वेश्चन है. Comment on the position of Neanderthal in the human evolutionary line. To the point answer or to write entirely about Neanderthal and then diagrams, question mark. Comment on the position of Neanderthal in the human evolutionary line. What we mean is basically you have to show the two primary controversies there, two primary evolutionary lines. One says that it is a Homo sapien neanderthalensis, the other says that it is Homo neanderthalensis. Your argument, I repeat the question, comment on the position of Neanderthal in the human evolutionary line. You are actually trying to present the arguments why certain people are thinking that it is an ancestor of Homo sapiens. Some people think that it is actually a line that got bifurcated from human evolutionary line after Homo erectus. So these are the two primary things. Other small ones, Rhodesian man, Cro-Magnon, etc. are there. Those you can add later. See, these are the two popular controversies. You will explain those. And then you would be ending your answer. You would be ending the discussion saying that this controversy still exists. Because there are certain parallel evidences. Some people say that if parallel evidences are there, one cannot be the ancestor of the other. But there are a few others who try to confirm with the timeline that definitely it must have been a Homo sapiens. There are people who question Neanderthal as an ancestor of Homo sapiens because it had a higher cranial capacity and there was a reversal that was happening. This is also seen as a criticism against Neanderthal being our ancestor. Did you? Meera kadamma? और क्या था? Comment on the evolution of brain from Australo to Homo. One thing you would for sure mention is the changing cranial capacity. So what should we mention other than cranial capacity? You are actually to write about what other evolutionary changes happening along with the change in the cranial capacity. Meaning that, see, such a question will be asked for about 10 marks alone. Comment on the evolution of brain from Australo to Homo. That can be for 10 marks. So you would say that, see, this is how the cranial capacity has changed. And the factors associated with changing cranial capacity are arrival of the erect posture, and you are actually listing out things like what is happening from bottom to top. That forms your 100-word answer. Meaning that other cranial and postcranial characteristics you are listing out. Okay? I think that's और कुछ था. I think I have done 5 people. And then yesterday we had stopped at what? Myth. We will have a small word about ritual, then we will try writing. We already have defined ritual elsewhere. We said that it is a rhythmic way of performing certain acts, without the alteration of the sequence and particular time at which it has to be executed. In fact, whoever have written about rituals, they also parallelly have written about violation of the rules in rituals. I repeat what I said. The people who have written about rituals were also writing about the fears or the results of violation of rules of rituals. Can you recall anything? Certain rituals, if at all you are not following properly, even if you are you're not doing it in the right manner. Hence there is some kind of a fear, there's some kind of a belief that something else might happen. Can you say something of that kind? Alteration of the sequence or a wrong time of performing the ritual, wrong things that are involved in it. Sir? Okay, go ahead.
So for every community there are some certain rules and regulations that at this particular time they have to perform so many days have to be observed, etc.
Okay. Maybe burial practices, how you are burying the individual, and then maybe perhaps the time of burial, the days of burial. So Tuesdays, Fridays, etc., you don't bury the individual, you would retain the body with your own selves, kind of, and then you look for an auspicious day for burial. ये तो फिर भी ठीक है. Now with technology improving, the child's birth and dictating death of individual who is on a ventilator is also linked to auspicious days. So there are certain times or certain days on which if you die, you directly go to heaven. How unjust God is, that He is allowing only a few people to go to the heaven by making them taste the death at that particular point of time alone. All others are unfortunate. I mean, to what extent they are right, we are not questioning. Because see, we should understand that somebody's beliefs should not be questioned saying that they are superstitions. As long as you also have certain superstitions, you should respect the other superstitions as well. Questioning them, reasoning them, so everybody has got their own reason. And we are not sitting here to give a judgment about the others, so others' belief systems are right or wrong. Now every religion comes with, every culture comes with set of rituals. Sir, in the first place, the concept of ritual, the word of ritual, comes close to the spiritual world. Though we see that rituals are existing in the non-religious areas also. But mostly when we say ritual, either it comes into the supernatural world, whether we call it religion or magic, it is associated with. So what happened is that in the evolution of anthropological thought, people tried to analyze rituals from different perspectives. We mostly depend on functionalistic perspective to see how useful the rituals are. If I could recall for you at that point, somebody like S.C. Dubey, who was studying Shamirpet, he was talking about rituals performed by the Hindus and the Muslims. For him, rituals and festivals were the occasions where two different groups, maybe perhaps not so very friendly groups, were able to come together and resolve the issues between them. So rituals actually make it possible for antagonistic groups also to come together and for reblossoming of friendship. This you must be seeing in your own families. कितने दिनों से दुश्मनी चल रही थी, and then suddenly some important occasion, some important ritual, कुछ ना हुआ तो किसी की शादी हो गई, or somebody's death has happened. You have to make use of every opportunity, including birth, death, marriage, etc. When I'm saying this, rituals actually are closely related to rites of passage of human life. When I'm saying this, every culture group comes up with its own set of. If at all I can recall for you, there was a discussion about the crocodile clan and the initiation of boys as young men. There are series of rituals they are actually subjected to. So you'll have to understand that rituals are culture specific. There is a universality of rituals, but then they are specific to culture groups. And to what extent people predict the damage that is caused because of violation of the ritual is based on to what extent your worldview is still intact. It's as simple as it is. The old time homes, we were never allowed to go into the kitchen with chappal. We were never allowed to enter the kitchen with a chappal. Say hygiene things and all are all there. No, if at all, a man from the scientific world is looking at that. And I don't know. whether you are trained in that. The moment you go home, first you wash your feet and then enter the rest of the house. Or do you actually go with the same shoe right into your bedroom and try to sleep with your shoes on? This may be a practice that you must have picked up because of the so-called fashion. But then, if at all a scientific community is looking at the things, the reasons they are showing are very, very much different when compared to the very tradition. इतने गुस्से में हो भाई, the traditional society. So you try to look at the violations, what kind of effect they might give. For example, Trobriand society, when he was studying, when Malinowski was studying, what if a ritual is incompletely performed? You also must have heard this, no puja shall be incompletely left out. That is considered to be highly inauspicious. And there are very strict rules, such as once you are putting the idol of the god at one place, you're not supposed to remove this. It's not like any other toy, any other stone. From one place you are removing and at the other place you are placing. The place attains its sanctity once the god sits on it. So rituals vary from culture group to culture group. They may be related to consumption of the foods, they may be related to how you are actually treating the supernatural, what kind of relationship you have with the people from the other culture groups. So day in and day out, tens of rituals we would be performing. Knowingly or unknowingly, we are actually performing rituals, meaning that some rhythmic sequences, well established, well set, they have to be performed at that particular point, violation of which may welcome the wrath of the supernatural. Now, in the non-religious arena also there can be rituals. For example, in the non-religious realm also there can be rituals. For example, something that you routinely do at one particular point of time, at one particular occasion alone. In the non-religious realm, any rituals that you perform.
Can you say during financial budget happens, before that there is halwa session will be going
Could
on,
be.
that can be a
And anta teepiga undali, next year should be very sweet. Before I actually give you a bitter pill, please have this. Flag hoisting, oath taking, torch bearing before. So people are actually confused whether it is a ritual or a symbol of something. We are very happy because of the definition given by Brown. Anything that has a meaning is symbol. So maybe that can be both a symbol and a ritual. Anything else? I'm looking for something from you.
Pointless habits that people follow.
In master.
Pointless habits, like they don't make any apparent sense, but people keep following the habits.
Such as?
I'm not getting any.
Somebody from the back. Couple of more examples, then I'll. New Year. ఇంత మంచి చెప్పినావు అసలు. So that is a ritual. So when that happens, there is a slight alteration. Whether the result of the ritual is positive or not, that's immaterial. But you will have to make it a point that every new year you make a resolution. Maybe the sequel of making a resolution is breaking it. So that next year you would come with something else. और बताइए. If not on a New Year day, on any other such occasion, any such resolution that you have taken, I'm looking for something interesting from you. Ghost marriage. What's that?
during birthdays. During birthdays and
ఏమని? నెక్స్ట్ బర్త్డేకి ఉంటాను My question is very specific.
Maybe during an examination.
Sir, sir.
Prior to examination or after examination, we do further
That actually makes me talk about this. Every exam before you start, Om Raskun Modaledtaru kada, Om Ra. And the rule is that on the exam paper you are not supposed to write Om. So on the table there or on your writing pad you write Om, and then call the supernatural to take control of your exam. Mai nahi tumhi likh do kind of a thing. And then amazingly, he writes your exam. The proof is that though you did not expect, you are getting a very handsome rank. It's not you who had written, it's he who had written, because you know your own capabilities. Aur bataiye, one more. Let's see whether you are reaching there. But you didn't answer my question. Any other resolution that you have taken at any other point of time? Leda. So meaning that you did not have neither necessity nor zeal to make any resolutions. Okay, we'll go ahead with. So we are trying to restrict the topic of ritual to functionalistic orientation. See, when writing about myth also we said this, whether myths are acceptable, scientific or not scientific, logical, illogical, whatever it could be, anthropologists still find them necessary to study, because from the kind of myths a society has, you can know the psychological state of that society. And it indicates what kind of fantasies people have. So if the stories are of the queens and princess and the prince coming and taking the princess, etc., that is the kind of fantasy you have. Or maybe your fantasies are filled with demons and zombies, etc., that is the kind of world you actually live in or you aspire to live in. Have you been following that sequence of suicides with that game? Are you a participant there by any chance? Because UPSC is one such thing that attracts people to such kind of dangerous games. You keep that on track. In one of the classes we deal with the mind-body dualism, etc. We will give this as a reference. And quite a number of anthropologists already started working on this particular thing. So you try to follow in the sense, not that you are going to follow truly, but then whether we have any legal provisions to handle such kind of. It's quite an astonishing thing that we have built a virtual world in the social media. We live in a world which is actually not existing, but then that is affecting our own selves. Every part of us, every entity of us is getting affected, and it looks horrifying when we come across such kind of things. And how is it that a society should control such kind of aberrations? Maybe that's where the norms and values of the society may come in. So that's where I wanted you to read this particular article. Published long time back in 2002. I'll be placing this in your Dropbox. Why religion matters, impact of religious practices on social stability. All that had actually started when Clinton triggered a debate about how religion is actually important. I'll show you as we go in. There are certain interesting pictures there. This entire thing is about USA. That is the church attendance, he says. What I loved is at some place he writes, if at all you believe in religion, irrespective of what religion it is, that does a lot of good. Look at those bullet points. I'll anyway circulate this to you. So if at all you are a regular worshipper, more optimistic, better relations in the family with the parents. So I mean, it shows religion is really functional. Keeping aside whether you believe in the existence of supernatural or not, if you are a regular worshipper or the temple goer, then it says that it regulates the behavior of the individuals. And that particular thing, maybe family incomes will also increase. God is doing His work. When you give whatever you have to give to Him, He is also doing this. Try looking at these charts closely at home. Suicides, how they have been affected by the worship, etc. These kind of write-ups you can use. So I know that's quite a big article, but more than half of it goes for footnotes only. So you need not actually worry much. Please make a note. Concept of ritual. Concept of ritual. Rituals are defined as the aggregates of rites, RITES, aggregates of rites, and hence are associated with several stages of human life, that attribute different roles and statuses to the individuals involved. They are culture specific. Rhythmic procedures with a succession of acts to be repeated without variation, though generally they are associated with religious sphere of society. They can be found in different aspects of culture, and society. Rituals performed by different culture groups depend on their local belief systems. In tribal societies, many rituals seem to be painful, sometimes including human sacrifices. For Edmund Leach, rituals are universal though their content and method of performing differ. For him, rituals are both aesthetic and communicative acts and serve in ratifying and affirming the values of the society. Right, in the next slide. The anthropologist Vogue VOG proposed that rituals reflect social structure, underline that sentence, rituals reflect social structure and social stratification. For example, in Indian case, village settlements are arranged based on caste, with each caste occupying localities in a particular direction. Write another bullet point there. In the performance of Yagna, each Varna has got its own specific role. The rituals ordained for each Varna give an identity to the individual and the group. ఏమ్మా ఆపాదించడం అర్థమైంది. అంతకుమించి నేనేం చెప్పలేను. తెలుగు రాదు, ఇంగ్లీష్ రాదు, అరవన్ రాదు. ఏమంటారు? వాట్స్ ద అదర్ మీనింగ్? ఇంపోజ్డ్ ఆర్ డైరెక్టెడ్, bestowed. మళ్ళీ ఏంటంటాడు? Continue writing them. Rituals such as Upanayana, rituals such as Upanayana, though superficially look similar for all the varnas and castes, the intricate details bring out differences specific to the castes. Keep writing, sir. According to Vogue, rituals are a mechanism to connect individuals with ancestors. They are based on factors such as the interaction between natural, spiritual, and social worlds as conceived by the culture group. For example, the pig feasts of Sembaga. You remember the spelling? No. TSEM. The pig feasts of Sembaga, studied by Roy Rappaport, explain the reasons for and the rules associated with conduct of the pig feasts on particular occasions. So write in the brackets for your own remembrance later. So write in the brackets. The Sembagan example can be used in the explanations of nature, man, spirit complex. Bracket close, keep writing there. It is generally believed that the pig feast is associated with increasing number of pigs. Full stop. As the numbers increase, pigs become a nuisance from being scavengers. The reasons such as the chief seeking an acceptance from his people to remain a chief are generally quoted. Rappaport found the general preference of Sembagans to conduct the feast soon after the war. Now listen to me, what it means. I am not narrating the entire story in the dictation. You already know what traditionally we have heard of in Sembaga. We said that is a chiefdom level political system, and chief throws a party at the people to show his might, not simply at the number of pigs that he is offering, but also exhibits the number of wives that he is possessing. This is only one side of the story. The other thing that we never spoke of was the time at which such a ritual is conducted. When I am saying chief or chiefdom, these are those political entities that do not have a permanent martial force. You will have to understand this basic difference, though we haven't still done the political anthropology. In political anthropology, we get these words called chiefdoms and states. Go to chapter 4, paper 1. The four terms are there: bands, tribes, chiefdoms, and state. Different types of questions are asked on the same four things. Sometimes the examiner asks to explain centralized political systems. Sometimes he asks us to write about non-state political systems. When I am saying non-state political systems, other than state, the rest of the three you will have to explain. If he is asking about centralized political systems, you will be writing about chiefdoms and states. What we mean by centralized is the authority is concentrated with one or a few people, and there is a formal political authority in which authority is concentrated. I repeat, there are two interesting explanations there. When you are trying to distinguish between centralized and non-centralized political systems, centralized are those where one or a few people have the authority centered in them, and there is a formal office with which the authority exists. When I am saying formal office, you can notice them. You can notice them through a different identity the political ruler has. Like, the moment you see the white khaddar dress, okay, this must be a political fellow, or somebody wearing that kind of a cap. So you can actually understand that this is something like a stamp. Looking at them, you can understand. Or some colored, the upper clothing, khandwa. So the color of the thing might be changing from time to time. But then the fact that he is wearing the white clothing, on that there is some kind of a cloth here, it indicates that, okay, he is a political leader. The flag changes from time to time. Similarly, when I am saying formal, there are certain rules to be followed. There may be something like a law book, written or unwritten. There are certain rules that have to be followed by both the leader and the led. There may be certain rules that make the leader a leader. So these are all the things that make the office a formal one. At one point of time, people like Needham, Nadal, etc., they wrote about the formal political leaders like the leopard skin chief. If you go to Polynesian societies, the chief is called leopard skin chief because he wears the leopard skin. Nobody else might be wearing. He's the only fellow who is wearing the leopard skin. So you can actually identify the moment you get down there, somebody wearing a leopard skin, definitely he has to be a. And then there is a pompous house there, very well decorated house, distinguishable from the rest of the houses. So the attire, so you can understand the huge convoys that go. Definitely he must be some XYZ political leader kind of a thing. This is the identity that you are creating for the chiefs. Here what happens is, when we are trying to distinguish between chiefdoms and states, there could be several other distinguishing points, but one very powerful distinguishing point is, in state, for every task there is a specialized entity, including for the war. So if there is a standing army for the state, for the chiefdoms there are no standing armies. You can actually remember it from the movies like The Patriot, where you see the farmers coming together, fighting the war for some time. When the war is over, you go and do farming. So these are not the trained fellows in that art of warfare. These are makeshift armies that the chiefdoms have. Now, having understood this basic difference between chiefdoms and the states, coming back to Simbaga, whenever there is an antagonistic group coming up, you have to indulge in war. So you are inviting people from your allies with a promise that you will pay them, though on an ad hoc basis for that particular war. So when you are going to pay, that's a big question. Some of it you may be paying immediately, some you want the people to wait. Because what you mostly pay is in terms of the pigs. That is the basic reason why Roy Rappaport says that they wait for the multiplication of the pigs to big numbers. But there are a few numbers that are considered to be auspicious, like 989, kind of. That particular number, they would wait till that number and then they would invite for. So the whole thing is ritualistic. The number of the pigs, the occasion, soon after the war you are doing. So all these things form the big part of the rituals. I hope you have followed. Come back, sir, to right. Can you recall somebody who had studied Dembu society? Victor Turner, right now. Victor Turner's study among the Dembu Master, మీరు నాకు నచ్చలేదు. Dembu of which country? Close by. Close by to Zaire. Zambia. Z matches, so you are nearby. Victor Turner's study among the Dembu of Zambia refers to divination, divination, divination as an important ritual. What is divination? What is divination?
You consider one man as incarnation of God.
Divination. और बताइए. Anything that comes to your mind?
Giving larger than life importance to someone.
Giving larger than life importance to someone. कुछ example भी हो?
Nowadays, political leaders are also divine. Actors.
Don't look at it that way. Maybe you are understanding in a totally different way. Divination does not mean that I consider you as a god. No, it's not like that. That's what it is. Divination is a belief that somebody like a priest or a magic man who has some inner power. We don't call possessed by something. It's not that way. We are looking at it from a positive way. He has this divine power, and he uses this divine power to see what is in stake, maybe in the future, or in order to identify what is the reason for something that has already happened. As simple as any recent shock of life that you have got. Maybe you passed the prelim that gave a shock to your life. So you went to this person who is good at divination, so he tries to tell you why this particular thing has happened, whether untoward, positive or negative. Many times we are troubled with such kind of questions. Why is it that it is happening to us? Or why only me? How many times your family, yourself must have said to yourself, asked among yourselves, why only we, why only us? The neighboring fellow, such a papi, he is having all kinds of luxuries. But you, following all the rules of religion, but then you are facing all those situations. So, of late my son is very busy watching movies like Ega, Makhi. Then he likes that Ega changing, the incarnation of it. And the Ega trying to kill the villain there. So in that whole thing, there is one soothsayer, there is one magic man. Em peru adu peru? Tantra. Chusava? Had it been anthropology, Dembu society where, don't know where. But name of that less known fellow who was there or maybe in one or two shots in the movie, you know him. You know the history, geography, chemistry, physics of him. So Tantra tells, see, this was the mistake that you have done, the sin that you have committed. And interestingly, he smells the place. You noticed? He smells the place where the hero was killed and buried. That is divination, trying to know the reasons, because there is a power in that individual. This is the meaning of divination, sir. No? Now keep writing. Divination as an important ritual. Before the important occasions, continue writing there, before the important occasions of passage of individuals from one stage of life to the other, and at surprisingly untoward incidents, the shaman, S-H-A-M-A-N, shaman is visited for finding reasons and unfolding the future. So it's as simple as when Gautama was born. So the priests come. They say that this is going to be his future. So these people who are talking about the future of this just born fellow, they were indulging in the act of divination. And many of us do before, at the time of marriage, Jataka chakras of both the people. You try to match. If they are not matching, you try to match them and see what's going to happen. So you try to identify how many matching points are there. You forget that the more they are similar, the difficult it is for them to get along. But then that's what is the science all about. These are the divinations. Keep writing, sir, the next one there. In anthropology, studying of rituals was considered important, especially from the functionalist perspective. For Durkheim, rituals form the most significant component of religion through which society worships itself. Edmund Leach and Roy Rappaport, right in the next paragraph. Edmund Leach and Roy Rappaport provided a long list of rituals in the tribal and simple societies while in India M.N. Srinivas, among the Coorgs of South India, Ghurye in the tribal religions, studied rituals extensively. They summarized the basic elements of rituals as number one, rituals often involve manipulation of AC of Charlie, what river? Rituals often involve manipulation of tangible sacred objects and the action is considered meaningful within the frame of reference of the supernatural. Continue writing there. They are performed to pursue the supernatural to respond in a specific way, to pursue the supernatural, to respond in a specific way. It's as simple as asking the supernatural to help you pass the exam so that you perform a particular yajna. Forget about yajna, we don't stick to our promise of giving those 5 coconuts and you put them in the account. Mains के बाद दे देंगे दोनों मिलाकर 5 there and 5 here. Keep writing. Secondly, socially, rituals provide opportunity to people to enjoy. అదుండని నాకు ఇది కొడుతుంది డైరెక్ట్ అదుండని అవునా వద్దా Socially, rituals provide opportunity to people to enjoy social festivities and ceremonies. Continue in that point itself. According to Durkheim, rituals are not necessarily for entertainment alone. They are in fact part of a serious interaction with the supernatural. Thirdly, rituals are time bound. That is, they have to be observed. On specific occasions alone. Fourthly, they are symbolic in nature. That is, the apparent meaning of the ritual is specific to culture. Apparent meaning is specific to culture. Can you think of any ritual where
Mouling in some religions.
Once again, sir.
Black color is more on both mouling in some religions and
Oh.
white is more on color.
Okay, color, meaning of the color. That sentence, if you could once again see, the apparent meaning of the rituals are specific to that culture. You are indulging in one particular ritual. I give a very fundamental question. Why 7 steps in marriage? Huh? 7 lives, ఒక జన్మే కష్టం. Why 7 steps?
Each step signifies something. I don't know.
7 ఎందుకు అంటే 8 కాదు కాబట్టి. पहले वो सीख लो. Learn the meaning of them. What is the mantra that you chant as you go around the fire on each of those steps?
7 and 9 are usually seen as auspicious.
నాకు 9 వద్దు. Maybe in your marriage we'll make you do those extra 2 steps. If at all your priest is ready for it. Anything else that you can think of? Within marriage itself, because that has so many rituals. Majority of the rituals happen in. Why? Why only Arundhati? There can be some other star as well. You, male fellows, show the female to see Arundhati. This is actually something like an inherent nature of comparison. हमेशा दूसरे लोगों को बताते हो, दूसरे लड़कियों को, दूसरे wives को, कि look at her, how nicely she is serving the husband. It starts from there. Arundhati considered to be the most pious lady. That mythological lady Arundhati, the one that is known for the first list of Pativratas. So you are trying to show to this lady that, see, replicate her. Unfortunately, there is no such ritual where the female can show to the male fellow, look at him. Or maybe there is none like that, so that you can show one, so that you can replicate him. I don't know. I mean, these are all random thoughts that I'm getting. But then, keep writing. The performance of rituals, keep writing in bullet points. The performance of rituals is believed to keep the human in constant touch with the supreme reality. Performance of ritual keeps the human in constant touch with the supreme reality. Continue writing there. For Malinowski, this brings discipline and order in the individual's behavior. You can as well use that article that I will share with you about religion. Those statistics were actually showing among the churchgoers how many broken families are found, among the non-churchgoers how many broken families, what is the incidence of divorce among the people who believe, among the people who do not believe. Or maybe that just like having something like a piece here, piece there. May not be a big thing. You may not be looking for something like a heaven after the death. You're going there, you are performing the ritual so that you are satisfied, you are happy. People say sometimes, even after you do such an elaborate puja, you are not really happy. Something is lacking somewhere. But occasionally you feel, with the kind of puja that you have done, sometimes you feel so very heartful. You feel that maybe God was also sitting with you as you are performing the puja. That gives an unexplained happiness. That's what he means by this. Through these rituals, you try to establish a constant, a long-term relation with him. So it's, for me, performing these religious rituals is keeping him at a tab. Whenever you need, you are in a position to call him. See, we were there together in the ritual. Every day we are there. Every morning, 4 o'clock, I am getting up, taking those holy baths, necessarily or unnecessarily. I am going around your temple, and you should remember me. So I think rituals make the supernatural remember you, and whenever you are in need, this is what Malinowski says. The rituals shall not be performed only when they are required. Performance of the rituals have to be a continuous process. That's what he sees in the Trobriand Islanders. On a regular basis, they keep on performing rituals, so that when they are going for a high sea fishing, you are not trying to talk to the supernatural for the first time. He already knows you. He's familiar with you. Make this habit. Every morning or every Saturday, every Tuesday, you make it a habit to call on him, introduce yourself properly, and then you keep on putting your request on a regular basis. See, when you are an officer, you are not going to listen with only one request from that fellow. Repeated requests. अच्छा लगता है कोई repeatedly request करता है. You must have seen that. No? Immediately when somebody asks you, if you are immediately giving, you don't have that value. You know? You make people wait. You make people wait. That's what God also is doing. He is nothing but a human in a different form. Keep writing. Rituals are culture specific. Rituals are culture specific and are performed for a specific function as understood by the culture group. Right in the next paragraph. For functionalists, most often rituals may not have a direct functional significance, but indirectly, write in bullet points, they have an integrative role. Edmund Leach, in his book, The Political Systems of Highland Burma, states that religious rituals make people meet on occasions and resolve issues. Thus, in the study of a Swazi society, SWA, Swazi Society of Southern Africa, Gluckman narrated the benefit of rituals in dealing with long-standing disputes. Rituals provide for the survival of people, however illogical the rituals are. For example, Shraddha Karma or death rituals provide food, clothing, etc. to the lower castes. For Malinowski, more than anything else, rituals provide psychological satisfaction to the individuals and build courage to face adversities of life. That's a small write-up on ritual. Generally, the topics of myth and ritual, they come together for big questions. Sir, in that chapter, the things that are majorly there, one is definition, approaches of religion in anthropology. So as a part of approaches in anthropology, approaches towards religion, there is one called evolutionary approach, where different forms of religions actually are discussed, like animism, animatism, etc. And there is the other part, that is the difference between religion, magic, and maybe perhaps science. There are these topics: myth, ritual, sacred, profane, and then religious functionaries or religious specialists. With regard to religious specialists, I'll give you a PPT which you can study back home and see what is the role assigned to each of those religious functionaries. Now, the last one that is there in that list is sacred and profane. We will have a small discussion and then we write a small thing there. And then I will take you to various religions and the impact on. Em master chilipiga navuttunnaru ఏమైంది బాగుంటుంది చిలిపిగా నవ్వితే. Impact of various religions on Hindu and Indian society. That will be the next topic. Somebody was saying this about topics like caste, polity, etc. What to write, kind of things. I'm still taking time on them because certain other issues have to be discussed before I come back to talk about what is the interplay of caste and politics. And there are also topics like caste in other religions. In order to do them, I'll have to talk about other religions first. So this is the next bigger topic that we are actually dealing with. So as we go into the later parts of your syllabus, the length of the chapters would go on reducing. And don't be afraid. You will not be hanging around me for a very long time. After the third week of October, I really do not want to spend time with you, even if you'd want to. So as we go into the later topics, we would be able to do them quickly because they are shorter ones. Many of the things related to them you must have covered elsewhere already. So we are looking at this sacred and profane. Where else in our talks we have come across these words? Symbolic anthropology. Can you slightly elaborate where else you have in symbolic anthropology? What? Mary Douglas was talking about sacred and profane, relating them to certain episodes in the human body. So she was trying to present to us the difference between sacred and profane from the perspective. Actually, she was not using the word profane there. Pollution, rather. One that is a pure or sacred element, and then the other is impure element. Anything else? Levi Strauss. So when humans think in binary oppositions, maybe you are thinking in terms of, so was he talking about pure and impure or sacred and so? Don't get confused between pure and impure. Don't get confused between pure and impure and sacred and profane. Sacred is anything related to religion. Sacred is anything related to religion. Now, one interesting aspect is within religion there can be pure impure. Meaning that within the sacred sphere of religion, there can be pure and impure components. I hope you are following. And anything outside the scope of religion, we put it in profane. This thing has to be properly understood. So when Levi-Strauss was looking at pure and impure, maybe we can extend it to religion and non-religion. So choice of the words has to be carefully made. Is there a difference between non-religion and irreligion? It's like nothing and no thing. So can I abuse somebody irreligious fellow? Or I call him non-religious fellow. Non-religion is you are actually not going by any religion. But irreligion is you are violating everything that is religion. You have understood the meaning. So non-religious fellow is less damaging. Compare it to an irreligious fellow. His only mission will be violating whatever is religious. So maybe perhaps we can extend to Levi-Strauss this particular thing, religion and non-religion. Anything else, anywhere else we have come across the term sacred, if not profane. Purity, pollution, purity, dirt, these are the things that we have. Anywhere else? In nature, man, spirit complex, there is something like sacred. So when we said that those are the places of their gods, they attributed sacredness to them. They attributed sacredness to them. So sacred groves, when we see in some of the populations, certain forest regions, certain habitation, vegetational regions are called sacred regions, because it's not simply that they believe that the gods are there. There are so many other elements that they attribute to those particular sites. Anything else? Anywhere else? Let us put it this way. Culture is a combination of, as we said at a lot of points of time in the classes, culture is a combination of material, non-material. Culture is a combination of seen and unseen. When we say that culture is a combination of seen and unseen, in what is unseen, a large part of it we relate it to the belief in supernatural. Meaning that I can dub it as culture is a combination of religion and non-religion. I repeat what I said. Culture is a combination of several things. One way of defining culture is material and non-material elements. It may be the things that are obvious, visible, tangible, and the non-tangible, non-visible things. An extension of this can be seen as culture is a combination of religion or belief system or worldview and the other part of it. Am I clear to you? So when we are explaining things in that way, can we categorize our own culture, our own life into something related to religion, something that is not related to religion? Our own lives, our own culture, can we categorize into something that is related to religion, something that is not related to religion? Go ahead, speak out, speak out. Don't worry about anything. I won't sue you. I won't.
Passages of life are
Sir, Malli.
passages of life, stages of life are like teachers. Starting from birth to all other marriage, and other than that,
Passage, rites, stages of passage are more to do with religion. Education and several other things are not to do with religion. That's his opinion. Okay, go ahead, go ahead.
We considered the temples or the religious places as sacred, and the outside where the other shops or anything else is sacred.
So he was using this word secular, which at other places is dubbed as profane. So maybe we would stick to what she is saying. Actually, this should have been the first thing that you have said, even before an MS complex, even before anything, something related to sacred. Maybe the discussion of sacred geography, sacred complex, anything that is related to religion, we made it sacred. And anything that is outside the sphere of religion, we called it secular. In the other words, it is. So it's like the sacred and profane are competing for their space. Sacred and profane are competing for their space. It's like, Iblis and God fighting for their space in your mind. But then you will have to not to understand profane in the sense of maybe sinfulness. No, it's not that way. Everything that is outside the sphere of religion is not sinful. You must have heard people saying this. Even if I am not following any religion, even if I don't believe in the God, but I am not doing things that are actually sinful. You see this argument in the people who say that there is no requirement of a religion to regulate me. My own inner consciousness is sufficient for me to discipline and regulate my behavior. If I am using that kind of an understanding, everything that is outside the sphere of religion need not necessarily be sinful. So even within the secular sphere, there is a positivity. So far, from various discussions in anthropology, we have come across the element of sacred in certain discussions about sacred geography, sacred complex, at the discussions of an MS complex. The sacredness that is actually explained from the perspective of purity and pollution in religion. Right now you bear in mind, sir, within sacred, meaning within the sphere of religion, there can be both purity and pollution. Meaning that not everything in religion is pure. This is something very interesting. Not everything in religion is pure. There are certain impure, dirty things in religion also. Don't look at me in a blasphemous way when I am saying this. Look at the practices within religion. We will elaborate this when we talk about taboo. The culture groups come with their own restrictions. What may be pure for you need not be pure for the other. Somebody may be offering Somebody may be offering leaves and juices to Lord Shiva. Certain others might be offering meat to Lord Shiva. What kind of meat you are offering to Lord Shiva is also differently seen. It may be a humble meat, such as you are offering maybe a hen, a bird to the god. You may be offering the meat from a corpus to him. That may look to be dirty, impure for the so-called high-ended Brahmanical fellow. But you have to understand that if this person is not consuming the corpus, not dealing with the corpus in the way he is, a Brahmin may not be in a position to do his own kind of puja with the Ganges. You are pure because somebody is impure. You are in a position to do the things in a sacred way because the load of non-sacred is borne by somebody else. I hope you understood what I said. But then academically, when you have to give a formal answer, write down concepts of sacred and profane. Have you prayed to God any time that make me a good fellow, law-abiding, God-fearing? Anybody who pray that way? I always admire the Venkatesh's prayer there at food. Thanks God that you have given sambar, chicken fry. Keep writing. This concept was dealt with by different anthropological thinkers in their own limited ways. Who wrote the book Totemism and Exogamy? Who wrote the book? Fraser. Okay, write down. Beginning from Fraser's books, such as Totemism and Exogamy, and Totem Taboo, way into the books by Mary Douglas, the concept found itself explaining the psychological and sociological importance people give to the religious sphere, They help explain changing priorities of culture groups, and most often reducing secular sphere, right in the brackets, as explained by L.P. Vidyarthi in his concept of sacred complex. Bracket close. Right in the next paragraph.
LP Vidyarthi says that the secular sphere thinks of unity is God.
What did I write? What did I say?
He's reducing the secular.
Beginning from places. They help explain change. రాయలేదనుకుంటా మీరు రాయలేదా? They help explain changing priorities of culture groups, most often reducing sacred sphere. I am sorry, sir. Most often reducing sacred sphere, as explained by LP Vidyarthi in his concept of sacred. Thank you so much. Right in the next paragraph. Durkheim proposed these concepts for the first time in his work right in quotes, elementary forms of the religious life. Elementary forms of the religious life, 1912. These concepts are still used in anthropology, in the study of primitive religion, and evolution of religion in the modern world. The word sacred technically means pure, with religious sanctity. Profane meant what is forbidden. Hence initially sacred is referred to as a set of rituals and objects distinguished from profane by special prohibitions that may vary across culture groups. Durkheim defined religion based on sacred as, right in quotes, a unified system of beliefs and practices related to sacred things which unite the group into a single moral community. Unquote. Sacredness and profane are attributed to certain things or practices by the members of a community based on a collective consciousness. Continue writing there. Sacred things do not simply mean the personal things of gods, but are also associated with anything that finds a place in the religious sphere. It may be the materials, like stones, trees, material symbols, that attain sacredness due to the proximity with the gods. You understand? I gave you the example of a rose that you have offered to your girl and to the goddess. That explains the meaning of sacredness. Read what you have written to yourself, then you will continue to write. Anything that you want to ask from there, I am waiting. First you finish reading that one page that you have written, and then we'll continue. Please ask questions if you have any.
Ma'am, in the evolution of religion, we studied in earlier classes, ma'am, from animism to polytheism to monotheism like that. So in the process of this evolution, can sometimes those which were considered as sacred can become profane?
Definitely.
Because ma'am, in the last sentence we wrote here, materials like stones, trees, etc., they are usually part of animism or nature worship. So if the society becomes more polytheistic or monotheistic, can these aspects which were earlier sacred now then become
It's as simple as long as you do not understand the logic behind anything, that may remain sacred, that may remain a part of religion, that may remain a part of sacred. The moment you understand the logic behind it, it's as simple as what causes a rain, what causes a thunder, or what causes a sun to move in that way. You know the logic behind it. Maybe you are not, you do not want to put that in the sacred way. That's possible. What was sacred earlier may become profane. Anything, sir, from the back? Or can I go dictating? Can I? What was the last sentence? Continue writing. He extended the notion of, write in quotes, contagious to the sacred elements, unlike the conventional belief that non-sacred or profane or impure being contagious. You understand contagious? No? Contagious is a negative term rather. So a contagious disease. By contact, something negative is spreading. So it takes a total U-turn. When you say that sacredness is contagious, the meaning is not negative when you change this. As long as you say that the impurity is contagious, it's very easily understandable to people. But if I am saying goodness is contagious, I am not looking at goodness from a negative perspective. I am not considering goodness to be dangerous. Occasionally it may be. But then when I am saying that goodness, sacredness is contagious, so if you are there in the company of the good people for a long time, you tend to behave as one, though you are not one. That's very interesting. So if at all you would want to change your personality, your thinking, maybe you would have to change the people with whom you regularly move around. Certain things that you don't understand generally. I remember one of my very old uncles. He used to say this. Those were the times there are certain big, very few big time restaurants, high-end hotels used to be there in Hyderabad. Now every street has got big time hotels. So those 3, 4, like the Taj Krishna, etc. He used to tell, whether you have money or not, you go there, sit there for some time. If not anything else, have a cup of coffee, just to have a feel, just to see what people are talking, so that the things would indirectly enter your thought process. Maybe at one point of time that becomes a part of your personality. So I remember many times when I had only a 50 rupees in the pocket, so I used to make a point that I go there, sit with those 50 rupees, just pay for a coffee and come back. This is what we call contagious. Goodness may be contagious, thoughts may be contagious. Contagious in the sense that they spread as you get in contact with such kind of people. So now the kind of talk that goes on around you. That's why people say, when you have to progress in life, you will have to deal with the people. You will have to be in the company of the people who have this progressive, positive outlook. It's like, you remember that movie? Amir Khan ka kya tha, wo chote bachon wala? हाँ. He was talking about one particular population where people curse the tree day in and day out. If you are cursing the tree, after some time the tree dies by itself. You need not have to do anything. Words, the practices, the way you deal with the people, they actually have a lot of impact on the individual's personalities and progress or otherwise of the people. This is what we say contagious. Progress is contagious. Disease is contagious. Poverty is contagious. So both the positive and negative elements can be contagious. It's as simple as, I remember that old neighbor of mine, very old fellow. He was never satisfied with any doctor. Many of us are not satisfied with our own doctors. When we go to the doctor, we expect so much from him. It's like he touches us, the entire disease goes out. We know that that is not possible. We are not expecting miracles. We can't expect miracles in the contemporary world. But then our expectation is that doctor has to listen to us. So this man on one fine day was telling me, when he met me on the road, he said that I went to so-and-so doctor. I liked him very much. Baa chusadu. Meaning he spent so much of time, he spoke to you. And then a prescription. Now this prescription he is not taking to a medical shop. That he will do sometime later. But the moment he came from the doctor's place, the prescription goes to the God's place. As long as the prescription is with the God's place, your disease is cured. It's as simple as the moment you get your hall ticket, the hall ticket goes to the God's place. You do this many times. Many of us have certain pens dedicated for the good examination writing. This you must have started right from your 7th grade or 10th grade. Some of us have certain clothes that are considered to be sacred and auspicious. We have been using the same clothes for years for the exams. Clothes tak to theek hai. I didn't say anything. Keep writing, sir. Durkheim considers sacred and profane dichotomy to be common to all religions. He had put forth certain characteristics of sacred, such as sacred is associated with the sanctity and power the humans attribute to the objects and things. To the objects, things, and beings. Sacred is also characterized by ambiguity, because it is difficult to explain why certain communities consider certain things to be sacred, though apparently they look to be dirty and impure. Read that sentence to yourself, give an example. एक बार I am reading out for those who have missed it out. Durkheim considers sacred and profane dichotomy to be common to all religions. He had put forth certain characteristics of sacredness, such as sacred is associated with sanctity and power the humans attributed to objects, things, and beings. Sacred is also characterized by ambiguity because it is difficult to explain why certain communities consider certain things as sacred, though apparently they look to be dirty and impure. Example. काऊ फिर भी धोने से धुल जाएगा. Okay, cow dung. Okay. You can't wash, even if you wash. Okay, ठीक है, वो काऊ का जो भी है. And anything else. We consider it to be very pure. sacred. We consider it to be sacred. Ji sir? Holy dips in the Ganges. Ganges, according to us, is very sacred. But just take not simply a dip, take a sip. Dip is fine, fir bhi. Sip is very dangerous. See what happens. I have to say this on this occasion. It happens so frequently at the time of Muharram that you share blades, you share knives and zanjeer, but nothing major happens. That is quoted as what is sacred and godly. Had it been any other thing, like sharing of syringes, sharing of razors, etc. These are considered to be very dangerous, infectious. But what might be happening out there? The same thing is happening in the Ganges also. Certain things you can't understand and explain. They come with such a strong belief. So as long as the belief is strong, nothing can affect. You go with a very strong belief that this medicine doesn't affect, it will never affect, however powerful it might be. As long as you believe that it will cure, however placebo it is, it would definitely cure. So immaterial of with whom it is associated, as long as the belief is strong, it will definitely work. That is the summary. And you should believe in one single God. I mean, whether it is I'm not saying that, I'm not talking about monotheism. I'm talking about the belief. As simple as trust in one teacher. Maybe that is much more meaningful. We in the UPSC preparation are good at collecting material. सारे दुनिया का आएगा 10, 15, 20, 30 जो भी टीचर्स हैं, इंस्टीट्यूट्स हैं. If some institute of UPSC training is there in the Mars or Moon, you'd get that also. You'd see to it that they are exported across space. And you collect them the moment you have. Oh my God, I have so much with me. देख देख कर लुत्फ लेते हो. When you are going to open it finally, God knows. Remember, sir, because some people have asked from the group, I'm answering that. You have limited time, though you have enormous capability. With that limited time, what you can do, you try to do that. Right from the first day, ये मत करना कि सारे सब खोल कर देख रहे हो, इधर से एक sentence लिख रहे हो, उधर से एक sentence, and that would become another Upadhyayan Pandey. With due respects, I respect them. First and foremost, you follow one single source that you have. Over and above this, if you feel that, okay, I have done with this, I have learnt everything from what is the basic that is given to me. Surprising and shocking realities are that people do not even open the mails that I send to them. You don't believe on a daily basis the kind of mails that I get. Madam, I want this. It is already there with you. So first you see what is already given to you. Over and above that, if you need anything, then I will give you the list of books. वो भी काफी नहीं है, then you can explore the other things. So first be sure of what is being given to you, and you memorize the things that are given. And so I strongly believe that पूरा मिलाकर 4-5 books ही हो आपके. I don't want you to juggle with tens of books. Only 3, 4, 5 books. You are repeating the same thing. And then maybe perhaps whenever you want that I have some extra information, insert a page there. That would do. And more of revisions are necessary rather than trying to read more information. Thoda rakho, but then you try to keep on memorizing. And whatever small information given to you, the same thing can be written back and forth, round and round, based on the question that is given to you. What comes first and what goes later, and how you are communicating the same thing. The other day, I was watching a white and white movie of N.T. Ramarao, where the hero and heroine decide, because both of them are jobless, so they decide to pretend as if they are a married couple, and then they find a job of tutors. They would be giving private tuitions to one rich girl. How many people have used the same formula? In the Eastman color, and then in the multicolor, and then in the HD age. The same formula, not married but pretending to be married in order to get a job. The basic string is one and the same, but how you are going to present, that matters. Okay? Likhiye please. Last few words on that. Sacred is non-utilitarian. Compare it to profane, that can be related to utility. These are the characteristics given by Durkheim. Sacred is non-utilitarian, compare it to profane, that is related to utility. Among these views, the one related to utilitarian was questioned by Malinowski. For him, every culture trait, including especially religion or sacred, has a major role to perform he did not deal with the emergence of idea of sacred or profane, but have explained with fieldwork and participant observation how the sacred sphere, however small it is, can guide and influence the profane. One can explain the significance of sacred in the rituals associated with launching of high-tech scientific discoveries. So it's as simple as you are launching a spacecraft by breaking a coconut. somewhere it should not get lost, so that the coconut will stop the spacecraft from losing its. That looks to be hilarious, but somewhere there is a fear there. Ask an atheist how many times he must have thought of God. We can say this: the one who is a non-believer thinks about God many more times than the believer. Because from time to time he has to prove to himself and to the rest of the world about the non-existence of God. As it is said, an atheist can be the best believer. An atheist can be the best believer because he does not believe in things without questioning, without having a proof. So don't worry. Whether God is there or not, that is immaterial. But then the inquiry of God, it is as simple as the dominant caste concept. When people were questioning the concept of dominant caste by giving several of the criticisms, as M.N. Srinivas says, we do agree that all these the criticism, they are actually strengthening the idea of dominant caste. So that is a brief account of. So small things are there. One is something like fetishism. There's one word in your syllabus. I'll send a small write-up on fetishism. What is a fetish, and examples of how different societies are using fetishes. Fetishes are nothing but certain objects where you try to see that these may be having certain spirits, may be possessed. It is unlike animism. So I'll be sending that one document. So 2 documents will reach you today. One will be on sacred specialists or sacred or religious functionaries. Second one will be fetishism. And in tomorrow's class, I will be starting with different religions and how they have impacted Indian society and tribal societies. At large, I may be dealing with Christianity, Islam, and maybe perhaps Buddhism. Let's see to what extent we'll be able to. अच्छा वो आपका planner लिख लो. 43 lecture. We were dealing with largely ritual, and secondly the discussion about sacred and profane. Source will be your class note. The other things I'm asking you to read from your mail topics, one will be religious functionaries. The second one is fetishism. Have a good time.